Here we go, everybody. Welcome. Paradox of Sports, episode 15. We've been doing this now almost 4 months, Jack. 3 months, 4 months. That's time flies when you're having fun. You were a day late on this. Yesterday, you guys had a little power outage down there. Had some storms the last few days. So I'm curious how what's going on at the Sentner household when there's no power?
We go outside for one, and then we just so basically we just went outside and played in the rain. Me and my brother.
So it wasn't anything where you all of your mobile devices, your tablets and stuff, you didn't run them down to a dead battery and then freak out because there was nothing to do.
No, we were about to try and play Battleship. But it smelled like mildew, so we went outside.
Now, do you have to have a battleship, like an electronic battleship, or you play the old school Battleship?
I play the board game Battleship.
Gotcha, the board game one, not the electronic one. Yeah, that's a good fun one. That's something to do to kill time. So that's a good deal. So you have you guys have got back. You had a scrimmage. You got baseball starting to fire up here, so we're going to get into all of that when we come back. We're going to not screw around much. We're going to get into the interview today because this is, I think this is the best interview you've done as you've grown the last 15 weeks in your questions and your follow-ups. And we have Vickie Guerrero, she's a badass in the world of professional wrestling. And so this was right in your wheelhouse. As she gets into at the end of the interview, when some of the advice she gives about how to build and maintain a podcast, we had been doing that where we had taped some stuff. So I think we did this about 3 weeks ago, and keeping up with her, there has been some stuff happen to her within the AEW ranks. Do you want to explain a little bit about kind of what she's been up to lately?
Yes. So just this week on AEW Fight for the Fallen, yesterday, we witnessed the return of Vickie Guerrero to AEW, where she took a new management under Nyla Rose, one of the most dominant women in AEW. And they're on their way to recapturing the AEW women's title after Nyla lost it to Hikaru Shida.
And that was the clip that I watched this morning where she was yelling back at the ladies in the ring that she was the one in control now and she was going to show them kind of what's up.
Yeah. I like her new entrance now. It's like...
And who's coming into that?
What do you mean?
That's Vickie's entrance song?
Yep. Nice.
Cool. Yeah, she's which people are gonna see. She was awesome. So I'm impressed with her staying power within the sport. I am impressed with how kind she was and an open book and answering our questions and everything that she did. So if there's nothing else, really, I think we should stop screwing around and go ahead and just get into the guest. How does that sound?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead and do an introduction for us.
Introducing WWE Great Manager or General Manager, whatever you want. Introducing Vickie Guerrero. Excuse me.
Hey. Hi, guys.
Howdy.
How are you, Jack? You're a cutie.
Thanks.
You get me shy?
We'll get him going. We'll get him started. That's how we normally do it. To get things going, to get the questioning started, we'll go ahead and throw it to our boy Jack.
All right.
Yeah. Just when you said excuse me, I accidentally hurt my ears.
Good. I'm glad. How are you?
Good.
Good. All right, let's do this, Jack. What do you got for me?
All right, first question. You married into one of the most well-known wrestling families, the Guerreros. Were you a fan of wrestling before that?
No, I wasn't. I was a cheerleader, a dancer. I was, dating guys that were football players. And my brothers who were younger than me loved wrestling, so they were always watching it. So when I started dating Eddie, I think they fell in love with him first before I did.
What was the family experience like with wrestling?
Family with WWE or the Guerrero family?
The Guerrero family.
This family took wrestling really seriously. Eddie's dad, Rey Guerrero, had the guys and their friends training from 8 in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They had a ring in their backyard. And so I really couldn't even, if I went over to see Eddie, I didn't get to see him because they were in the backyard training and no one was allowed to interrupt them. And their training was very disciplined and on a really strict schedule. So I would sit in the dining room table and watch the guys train. And then after 4 o'clock, that's when me and Eddie would go get a bite to eat or something. So it was taken very seriously. And this family had a lot of history throughout Mexico and Texas. And his dad promoted at the Coliseum in El Paso. So they were a big deal. And my family knew about Eddie's family before I did. So I had a lot to learn when I dated Eddie.
What was your first impression of the wrestling culture? How old are you when all this is happening?
Oh gosh, I met Eddie when I was 18.
Okay, so you're young in high school. You get into this wrestling culture. What was your first impressions of it?
What's funny is that when I dated Eddie, I knew the Von Erichs and Hulk Hogan and Macho Man because those were the main guys on TV. So I figured that if I dated Eddie, I could get to know the Von Erichs, and I thought they were always pretty cute. And so I thought that was my game plan, was to get to date Eddie and go to a show. And I actually did meet the Von Erichs, and God bless them all. They were really sweet. But when Eddie stood side by side, Eddie was the cuter, so I kept with the cute guy.
In 2005, you made your first storyline appearance in WWE. Talk about your role in the rivalry with Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero.
Well, in real life, Eddie and Rey loved each other very much, and our families were very close. When they brought me into WWE to do the storyline, it was to keep Eddie's name, alive with the wrestling community. So to be able to work with Rey Mysterio, which I worked with him before in 2004 for the Dominic child custody case. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
When I knocked Eddie off the ladder and, tried to change his mind from telling all secrets. So that was fun. So to be able to work with Rey Mysterio and, my nephew Chavo and Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho and Batista, I was like working with family. So there wasn't a lot of stress in that form, but we had a really good time and they made me feel welcome in the ring. And I had a lot to prove. So working with these guys, with who I love so much, it was an easy transition for me to fall in love with the character they wanted me to be.
After the loss of Eddie in 2006, he was posthumously inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, which you accepted his induction. What was that moment and the weekend of WrestleMania 22 like with tributes to Eddie?
Oh, Jack, that was a really hard WrestleMania. Every WrestleMania that I went to and to attend the Hall of Fame, it was fun. It was a family get together and it was all about celebrations. This one was a little bit tough for me and my daughters to induct Eddie and to be able to sit, stand on the stage and feel the love of the fans that they showed us, inducting Eddie. It was a hard one. I think it was a special one, but it was one that it was really hard to get through. But of course, with my family nearby and all the fans, it worked out really well, and I felt comfortable at the end. I got through it.
On the scale of the WrestleManias, that was actually the first thing Jack had me sit down and was watch WrestleMania this year. Now, it was a little different because they didn't have the fans, but from all of the events that you do and all the traveling, and I mean, you guys are all over the country, all over the world, the WrestleMania is such a big deal. what is the difference around that WrestleMania event from the standpoint? Are you there days ahead of time? Are you doing other media, other meet and greets and stuff? And how is it different from the athlete's perspective leading into it than some of the other performances?
You know, WrestleMania is a really big week. So we actually started off probably months before that because we're promoting, we're going to different events, we're highlighting the matches that are going to be, done at WrestleMania. So usually I was at Raw on that Monday night, and then we'd fly straight to wherever WrestleMania was going to be. And then we have Fan Access, which is a convention that goes from maybe Wednesday through Sunday, so we had different time slots that we would go to access. We would work with the community and do different projects. So even though WrestleMania wasn't until that Sunday, we were pretty busy, going to different schools, and there was always some kind of publicity and media and press that we were doing for WWE. So it was a busy week, but it was always a fun week because that's like our Super Bowl of the year. And then, of course, Sunday is the show. And then just like that, you're back at Raw again and changing this whole new, card of new champions and, new titles that are being passed around. So it's exciting because it's like we're starting over in a new year after WrestleMania.
So I assume the behind the scenes stuff, there has to be a boatload of people that you never see.
It's pretty well, you get the celebrities that come in. I worked with Snooki in one WrestleMania. You have the legends that come in that, do stuff with us. And that's an honor for me because, these are first time that I get to meet all these wonderful legends that worked before me. And it's just like a big family affair, to be able to work with different people and to get to know them and their families. And all the kids get together and hang out, and they take off and go shopping while we have to work. And that's just the way it was for WrestleMania week.
Later in 2006, you began to appear more on TV and be involved in various storylines with Chavo and Rey, and then even more prominent roles as an assistant to SmackDown general manager Teddy Long, and then taken over as general manager of SmackDown. How did you become more involved in WWE storylines as an authority figure?
Jack, I think it was by the grace of God because I didn't expect to be in such a big role as to managing, Raw and SmackDown. I think they kind of saw that I was able to take the promos and produce, these different emotions and to work with the great superstars like Edge and Dolph Ziggler and Lay Cool, so when we had successful storylines, I think it just proved that, I was ready for something bigger, and to work with the whole roster was such an honor for me. So to be able to be an authority figure and to get the cute guys, it was a great day at the office.
Speaking of Edge, talk about that experience working with the Rated Superstar.
Oh, gosh. What a gentleman and a great friend. He was probably the one that taught me so much about the wrestling ring. He always helped me with the camera work. He helped me with psychology of the match. The way that he would put together matches with whoever he was wrestling with, I would sit there on a daily basis and I would listen and I would ask questions, of why this was happening and what the story was going to be for the next few weeks. And for him to include me and to make me a part of these matches, it was a lot of fun. I had a lot to prove. I had to be there, as far as my timing and be there whenever he needed me, whether it was across the ring or I had to run to the other side of the ring post. I was ready for that challenge, and he was really good to me. Just a good friend and patient with me and taught me along the way. So I'm very grateful to him.
In a lot of the wrestling content that I've listened to probably the last 3 months, a lot of people have talked about the knowledge of everything from knowing how to put the ring together, knowing where the cameras are going to be, the lighting. That seems different than any other form of entertainment where everybody wants to know everything that's going on. Why is that so important in the wrestling world?
I think it's being involved with your craft, to be able to, it's not just about that superstar walking out to the stage, walking down the ramp and getting the ring and your job is done. There's so much more to that. It's about involving the crowd and working with the commentators and working with the people you're going to work with and your opponents. And, back then, it's really incredible how successful we were because we didn't have social media back then when Edge was around, when I worked with him. And today, you can use social media to your benefit to keep your character going and to keep the storylines alive when there's not television, going on during the week. So it's very different, but I think this all has to contribute to the fans really watching and supporting, the superstars. So I truly believe that our success and being involved, not only in the storyline, but you involve the fans with us and include them in the crowd. I think that's a big success to a storyline.
After some time off, you came back in more of a managerial role with Laycool and then Dolph Ziggler. Did you enjoy being in the role of general manager or being a manager of others?
Oh gosh, probably general manager. I mean, to be boss of the whole show and to fire and hire and to manipulate different superstars for different titles. It was fun. I mean, there was never a dull moment when I was around. Either I was in a food fight or I was getting kicked out of the arena or Rock was singing to me and I thought he fell in love with me, but he didn't. Just being able to work with such great athletes. And then also with Jack Swagger and Dolph, we were involved with a lot of celebrities. We had the Muppets and we had Betty White. And just being able to work with these prestige celebrities that came to the wrestling show and just to interact with them I was like a little girl in a candy store because I had to pinch myself that I was sitting next to Betty White, and we were working together. So it was some really good times.
Why did you leave the WWE in 2014?
I was there for 10 years, and probably the last 2 years I was there, I wasn't really doing a lot, and I was going to school. I was in college, and I was doing more homework than I was being on stage, and I was flying everywhere, and I wanted to respect the business to where if I was kind of fading away, I wanted to go out in my own terms, and I felt that there was so much more to do in life that I wanted to try. I was with WWE, 12 years as a superstar, and then even more before that with Eddie being in the ring and being a wife and working with the company through Eddie. So I wanted to finish my college. I wanted to get into the medical industry. I wanted to kind of catch up with my girls because I miss so much of their years growing up. And just to be able to put the suitcase away and have a normal life of sleeping at night in my own bed every night, that was just something I was ready to do. But then I got to be involved with Comic-Cons and other wrestling promotions. And now that I'm with All Elite Wrestling, doing different appearances for them and doing my own podcast, there's just so much in life that I'm enjoying and getting to be a part of.
The biggest thing that caught me off guard with the wrestling has been the sheer amount of work that the superstar guys, the names that I had heard of before I really started trying to get into it. So when you talk about that travel schedule and, not just what you have to go through in the performances, but just how hard is it just to get from place to place to place, because it never stops.
No, I mean, your airlines is your favorite friend because you're living at an airport pretty much all week. I would leave on a Friday morning, and we would do house shows Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If there wasn't a pay-per-view, we'd still go out, that weekend, and then we'd do television Monday, and then, we would come home Tuesday, and I would be back on the road either Thursday night or Friday morning. So I probably averaged about 2 days at home, and it wasn't even quality family time because to be a general manager, it wasn't like I had gear that I could wear every week that was the same. I always had to be shopping for different clothes, and then there's working out and there's taking care of yourself. So it is a lot of work, and you're always thinking about storylines and the psychology of what's going to happen for next week. So I think we're always on, and especially being in the public, like getting groceries or at the airport, fans are always coming up. So it's a constant role that we're playing all the time. But I'm always thankful when a fan recognizes me, because when they don't, that's when I have to worry.
Talk about your appearances in AEW.
Oh gosh, I'm having a blast. I went first to AEW in December of 2019 to do AEW Dark, then do some commentary. Excuse me, and then I just went for the pay-per-view for Double or Nothing to be in the audience, and then I was a cheerleader for the Inner Circle, and what a great job I had. I mean, it's been so much fun, and I on my podcast I interview a lot of the AEW roster, and they're such great kids. They just have a lot that they want to learn from everyone, and the coaches, the staff, the administration. It's a very different atmosphere. They work one time a week, which I think is incredible, because for the guys' sake, the guys work one day and then they get to go home and rest for a whole week. And I think that's so important. And then also AEW allows the guys to do other projects, to go make a movie, or they can go to do other matches, with other wrestling promotions. And then they also get to spend time at home with their family. And I think that's just a great concept of what Tony Khan's doing for the rosters, that they're able to rest their injuries and just, all in all, just kind of have some downtime before they give their 100% for the next show.
Did this upset WWE seeing you in AEW?
I know where you're going with this. Yes, it did. But what's funny, Jack, is that when I went to AEW in December, I was there anyway in Dallas for a meeting I had with a company. And so when Brandy called and said, "Hey, you want to come do commentary? We're here. We know you're in Dallas." I'm like, "Sure." I had no contract. I hadn't even talked to WWE probably in the last year and a half to 2 years. So by me showing up, they didn't like it, and I'm sorry about that. But it wasn't like they were doing anything for me anyway, and we hadn't really communicated. But with them denying me the roster to interview on my podcast, it was told to me that I wasn't allowed to interview them. So it was more like it's okay, life goes on. I have other things going on, and I was ready to move on from WWE.
What is your favorite wrestling moment of all time?
Wow. I think my favorite wrestling moment was probably when I threw Eddie off the ladder at SummerSlam for the Dominic custody case. I mean, what wife can throw a husband off a ladder and not get in trouble for it? So that'd probably be my best one.
Who is your favorite wrestler to watch?
Oh gosh, my favorite wrestler. That's a tough one. My all-time favorite is Eddie. It always will be. He was fascinating to watch and so talented, not because he was my husband, but he truly entertained. And I really look at his work a lot for things that I want to do and whenever I'm performing. I love Rey Mysterio. I think he's incredible. As far as the girls, Nyla Rose is one of my favorites. I think she's a monster, and I think she's incredible, and she's going to just get higher in her career. As far as managers, I love Sherry Martel. I think she was amazing. And Miss Elizabeth and Woman, Nancy Benoit. Those are my 3 women that I look to as managers.
Who is your most entertaining wrestler?
Gosh, wow. You're good at this. The most entertaining, I'd have to say it's Dolph Ziggler. He's so funny. And things I remember about Dolph is that he could have the most serious match and have a title on the line. And I'll be in the corner and he'll crack a joke at me. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? You're in the biggest match of your life and you're throwing jokes at me. But, he would just say funny stuff like, "Hey, Vic, is my hair okay?" Because his name was Nick, and mine was Vic. So he said, "Hey, Vic, is my hair looking okay right now?" And he was just always a funny guy, and I really appreciate his humor, and he made it a lot of fun to be in the ring with him.
Who is the most fun to work with?
The Rock, by far.
Okay.
Last question.
Well, let me ask more. I got one I want to get in before you. You got a good last one, Jack. So I'm going to end on you. I want to know just on the part. I thought it was even maybe a dirty word, and then I talked to Matt a little bit before, but playing the part of a heel, is that fun? Because it looks like that's got to be a blast. Is that something that you wanted to do? How did you fall into that role? And is it as much fun as it looks like it is?
It is. Being a heel is the most incredible job ever, because as a baby, you have to have the audience love you, and they have to, cuddle you and hug you every night. I don't want to be hugged. I don't want to be liked. I could care less if they even cheered for me. To be a heel is like you have your own rules, you have your own character, and your stage is yours, and you could care less if the crowd is going to like you or not. And they tried me as a baby, and I thought I was bored. This is not for me. And maybe because Eddie was a heel, I love the heel. I love the whole concept of it. And to be able to take a crowd to thinking that I'm actually going to, forgive someone, or apologize to someone for something I did. And it's so fun to get the crowd to go, oh, maybe she's changing tonight. And then, within like 3 sentences, you've pissed them off again. And I think that's so much fun, because you can just watch the fans change their faces and get all mad again. And I'm like, I did my job for the night.
And now I'm a father. I have 3 daughters. So I have seen some battles and some babies and some heels as they do the roles. I think the woman heel is that's the character. That's the one to be. That's my favorite to watch.
I think every woman has a heel inside them. I think everyone has that dark side to them that they wish they could use, like in a grocery store or when they're getting bullied somewhere. And so it's really easy for me to find that within me. And, it's really funny when I go to Comic-Cons or I'm at a convention, and I'll see fans just keep walking back and forth, but they stare at me like side-eye, like they just don't want to look at me. But they see me laughing and they see me smiling, and they're like, all right, I'm just going to come and ask you. You're smiling, like you never smile on TV. And I'm like, well, I'm not in front of a camera right now, so I'm in a good mood. So fans really get scared to like try and talk to me, but they come to find out that in person, I'm just a fun girl. I like to laugh, and I love to meet the fans, and especially the kids. I love to let them know that there's a character, Vickie Guerrero, and then there's the in-person, and I'm going to be as true as you want me to be, and I'm just a human being like everyone else, and I love to just have fun.
Last question. Where did the phrase "excuse me" come from?
The excuse me phrase came from one night I had a promo that I was supposed to do, and Teddy Long was pushing me in the wheelchair, and my promo changed about 5 times within 30 minutes. And so I kept memorizing these new promos that were coming out. And by the time we went live, Teddy Long was pushing me out, and he goes, oh, you're going to mess this up, aren't you? I'm like, yeah, playa, I think tonight's the night that I'm going to mess it up. And I went out there, and I had all 5 promos in my head. Like, I was so nervous, and I was overwhelmed, and I forgot the promo. And so the fans figured it out really quick, because I probably looked like a deer in headlights and lost. And the fans were yelling to go home, that you forgot what you were going to say, that I wasn't any good. And so I just yelled back, excuse me, like 3 or 4 times, and it got them upset. And the writers saw that interaction between me and the fans. And they said, hey, let's use this again next week. And I'm like, no, this is not going to work, because it's just a fluke. It was just something that happened, and I was mortified, because when you go back off stage, you go through Gorilla, and you have to face Vince whenever you come off. And he's the one that will smile at you, or he's going to ignore you, depending on how good or bad you were. And he didn't even look at me. And I thought I was going to get fired. I thought, this is it. They're not going to use me anymore. And so the next week, Vince is like, let's try that excuse me, but do it before you talk. And the fans started catching on week after week. And now I have merchandise, and I have excuse me all over my merchandise. So it's done really well for me.
Nice. Now, away from the questions a little bit, you had mentioned it that you're doing your own podcast. So yes. What got you into that, and kind of what have you learned, or maybe some advice for Jack and myself moving forward on how that's kind of working out?
I wasn't ever interested in doing a podcast until my producer, Jerry Strauss, he had interviewed me a couple of times, and he presented to me, he goes, hey, with your name and, with all the people, I think a podcast would be really good. And I love to talk, and I love to do research. I love to meet people. And I didn't want it to be just a wrestling podcast, because there's just so many people in the world that I would love to meet and get to know. So we made our genre kind of broad, and I've interviewed celebrities, musicians, wrestlers, politicians, and it's going really well. I think my advice is that you have to be flexible for guests, because a lot of guests have a busy schedule, and so some only want to be interviewed after 9 p.m., or some can only do it between 12 and 2, or some are going to take a flight and they cancel, and then you're like trying to like find another guest because you have a deadline to air out your episodes. So I think it's just the content is the stressful part, because you always have to have that guest, to be released for that week. So I would just say enjoy it, and always have a list of names that have a backup from a backup. So one guest cancels, you have someone else that you can, get on. But the secret that I've learned that's done really well is have 2, maybe 3 interviews done in 1 week. And I always work 2 weeks ahead. So if I have 2 weeks, of interviews, I'm always working for someone else. So that way I just have like a bank of interviews that I can always, be releasing. I'm not ever short on content. So that's probably the hardest thing, but I've met some incredible people, and my favorite thing of a podcast is to take a superstar from whatever promotion, and it's their hour to shine. I love to make them shine and to promote them and to hear about their history and their favorite matches and their family, how they raise their family in this industry. So it's just really important for me to highlight them. And I think that's my goal, is every time I have someone on that I'm making them shine for that hour.
Awesome. Jack, you got anything else?
Yeah. One more time for the fans.
Hey.
Awesome. Vickie, thank you very much. You
Thanks,
didn't have to do
guys.
this. That was awesome. So you're Jack's got a few lessons. We're kind of doing what you're saying on we're canning a few things. We've had you're cool. We've had some people that weren't cool, and it's been a learning process moving through this. So it's Jack's getting me. Wrestling people are cool. I'm learning that for sure. The wrestling folks, that's a cool community.
Yeah, I guess my favorite advice is to always have enough questions, because some people they're not an open book. They don't just start talking about something. You have to kind of pull teeth and and when did you do this part of your life? So some people don't know how to do an interview, to where they don't know how to answer questions. So I always have enough information, and sometimes Wikipedia and other stuff doesn't, they're not right. So you always want to make amends if you have something wrong in your interview. Say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Tell us what the right information is. So I always try to make the fact checks, work whenever I have the superstar on. Yeah,
Jack's had a couple where he asked 5 questions and we went 30 minutes, and he had one where he asked like 27 questions and we went 18 minutes. So it goes both ways. So yeah, you were exactly right. So cool. Yeah. Well, we appreciate the time. We'll keep watching, and thanks for taking some time with us tonight.
Thank you, guys. I wish y'all luck and success, and have fun with this. Y'all are doing a great job. Good job, Jack.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sweet. Thank you, Vickie.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Okay. We want to, again, thank Vickie for her time. A lot of good advice there, Jack, a lot of good stories. She, again, talked about the importance of writing and kind of having your storyline and knowing what to do. And about fact-checking, I know you do a lot of that before you go in with the guests. Tell us a little bit about how you go about doing your research.
I just take normally I start with the Wikipedia, then me and my dad help revise the questions. And then we come to a consensus, and then those are our questions that we ask her.
Nice. Well, she I think she gave a lot of good advice and some stuff we're going to do kind of moving forward. We're keeping some stuff canned, and which we do. We have a couple more good ones that we're holding on to that we'll get back into here in a couple weeks. But big news today. One thing that was cool with the power outage and the delaying this for one day is you made the newspaper at home. So the Chieftain did a story on the paradox of sports, and what's kind of your reaction to seeing that?
That is great. It's amazing to have a 10-year-old boy who's in a podcast get into the Pueblo Chieftain after, say, a month.
Nice. Yeah, that's real cool. Now, was there anything – I've read it. I thought it was a very very well done, very well written article. You feel the same? Did you like it? There was no slander or anything we need to get our lawyers involved with?
No, because one, we don't have lawyers yet. And
point.
Two, well, not quite, not yet. But secondly, Austin White did a great job on that.
Nice. And I know you guys have talked to him, and he is somebody that when we get closer to the local sports there, this fall, we're going to have him on and learn more about him and his background and writing styles and what he likes and how he ended up in Pueblo there at the Chieftain. So that was cool. If you guys haven't seen it, check it out. It's in the what's today? Thursday? The Thursday,
yeah.
July 16th edition of the Pueblo Chieftain. And
Yes.
You had a scrimmage the other night. You're getting back in. I think you start games on Saturday, correct?
Correct.
So how was the scrimmage? Break that down for me. How'd you do? Where'd you play? How'd you hit? How'd that go?
All right. So, because we were playing on an 11U team, they were definitely they were really good, and we didn't get the win, but it's okay. It's just a scrimmage. So I played pitcher and shortstop. I started at pitcher, and I threw like one or two strikeouts because I was only in there for the inning. And then the next inning, I was at shortstop, and pretty uneventful. But I had a great time. Hitting wise, I walked twice. So
There you go. You got to keep that on base percentage up. You got to have base runners, man. You got to have ducks on the pond, as they say. What was the reaction of the kids just getting back in the team atmosphere for you guys? Was it fun? Was it enjoyable? Did you just enjoy getting to be back at the ballpark?
Yeah, we enjoyed finally getting back to play baseball.
That's cool. That is way cool. Now, moving forward, we are going to take us a little 2-week summer vacation because keeping in contact with both your mom and your dad, you guys are running around like crazy right now. So let's go through the schedule, okay? So we have hunter safety we're taking, right?
Yeah.
We have swimming lessons we're taking, right?
Yeah.
We have a country club membership to the gun club that we're taking advantage of, right?
You're right.
And we have baseball at your level, and we have baseball on your brother Vaughn's level, right?
Right.
Gotcha. So with that being said, we're going to go and we're going to enjoy a little summer here for a couple weeks. We're going to let you be a kid. We have a couple interviews canned, wrestling great Carlito and the voice of the CU Buffs, Mark Johnson. Those two we have in the can. They're not really time sensitive, so we can get to them in a couple of weeks, and we will when we come back. But I think it's kind of a good deal to take a couple weeks off. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Cool. Was there anything else before we go on our sabbatical? Is there anything else you wanted to go over?
No.
Okay. Well, cool, man. I'll stay in touch. You guys do the same. Enjoy a couple weeks off. Enjoy being a kid. Enjoy your summer. And you know what? When we come back and see everybody and start doing this again, there will be sports being played, baseball and basketball. So we'll have some sports to talk about.
Yep.
Awesome. Cool. Good luck this weekend. And thanks, dude.
All right.
Cool. Later.
See you. Laters.